Welcome back to Watch the Bookerman and to episode number 76 of Paul Heyman's TNA, and we're here with the episode of Impact that follows Destination X, so we're going to get all the fallout to that pay-per-view, and it begins with the arrival of Austin Aries in the Impact Zone. He won the contract match at Destination X and will officially sign his TNA contract later tonight, confirming also that he will face Roderick Strong for the X Division Championship at Lockdown, a big pay-per-view in the TNA calendar. That's where Austin Aries is scheduled to make his in-ring debut as a full-time roster member. He looks characteristically aloof as he enters the building, dressed in a smart suit and carrying his luggage behind him. So not the best segment, but it's just to make Austin Aries' signing seem important. We then go into a very good match actually. AJ Styles defeating Nick Jackson in 10 minutes and 33. During the match, after Larry Sweeney and Matt Jackson both tried to get involved, each man was kicked out from ringside, leaving just Jerry Lynn with AJ Styles. And after the match, Jerry Lynn joins AJ Styles in the ring, raising his arm before the Phenomenal One takes a microphone. Styles cuts a promo on Larry Sweeney and his group, challenging Sweet and Sour to bring any three members of their group to TNA Evolve this Saturday night. They'll face him, Jerry Lynn, and Low Ki. He then turns his attention to Matt Morgan and Mr. Anderson, who defeated Jerry Lynn and AJ Styles at Destination X, and they seem to think that their victory on Sunday was some kind of defeat of the X Division. Styles laughs off the suggestion, telling them to look at the Ultimate X main event if they want to see how the X Division is doing. The X Division is fine. He closes by making it clear that he is far from done with the two men as he and Jerry Lynn leave up the ramp. 78 is an okay rated segment as we head to the back and see the beautiful people have grabbed a cameraman and they are leading him to the Knockouts locker room. When stood outside the locker room, they promote yet another exclusive for the Beautiful People show as we hear what sounds like heated conversation within the locker room. Love and Sky then burst into the room unannounced once again, walking in on Mickie James and Tara, who are arguing about the events of Destination X. Once Mickie spots the camera and the Beautiful People, she stops and she's trying to cool down the situation. Tara is still fired up and asks why Mickie can't say what she was going to say now just because they've got an audience. So Tara clearly feels they need to air this out, but Mickie says that this doesn't need to get blown out of proportion, it doesn't need to get more serious than it is, and she leaves the room before things escalate. The Beautiful People continue to stir the pot before sending the cameraman away. Tara, Mickie and Velvet all improvising well, and it advances the storyline in the process. We then head over to the interview area where Roderick Strong is interviewed by Jeremy Borash, and he first asks his thoughts on winning the Ultimate X in the main event of Destination X. The X Division champion says that it feels great to hear that, but it's all about the title over his shoulder at the end of the day. It doesn't matter how he does it or where they are on the card, it's all about the X Division title. He accepts that things easily could have gone very differently, but when he tore the title from the fingers of Tyler Black, he proved that he wanted it more. Talent only gets you so far, and Tyler is learning that the hard way, month after month after month. Talk then turns to Austin Aries signing with the company and the fact that he will face Strong for the title at Lockdown. Roddy says he goes way back with Aries and he's sure they'll become reacquainted over the coming weeks. Tonight, he's going to sit back and listen to what Austin Aries has to say, because love him or hate him, that guy is never short for words. So again, trying to promote the fact that Austin Aries is going to speak later tonight, as well as signing his contract, all about building hopefully some hype towards that segment. We then get the first match in the Knockouts Tag Team #1 Contendership Tournament. Hamada and Taylor Wilde defeating April Hunter and Jazz when Taylor Wilde pins Jazz with a Northern Lights suplex. 8 minutes and 58. April Hunter, the weak link. We brought her in and hoped to give her a bit of a push. I've not been able to build the momentum for him, so on the back burner a little bit for the time being, as Hamada and Taylor Wilde advance to the Final Four. They celebrate their victory in the ring. They've had issues with April Hunter and Jazz over on TNA Evolve recently, so again, a little bit of a cathartic moment for them as they go into the semi-finals. The commentators putting them over and also promoting the rest of the tournament that will play out over the coming weeks and months. We then get Tyler Black approached by Christy Hem in the back, and she looks for his reaction to Roderick Strong's words from earlier tonight. Black says that lucky for him, he didn't listen to a word that the dullest man in professional wrestling had to say, but if Strong has something to say to him, he can say it to his face. Black then leaves, walks off, and carries on walking. He's looking for Roderick Strong. Christy Hem and the camera crew follow him. Once he confronts Strong, he finds him. Whether we go to a break and he's found him after the break or whatever, I don't know. But Black asks what Strong's been saying about him. There's not much time for conversation between the two as they start to fight. Black tells Strong he wants another match with him. Whatever he's saying, he knows he can beat him one-on-one in a fair match. When he's told to earn it, he decides they can fight right now. A brawl breaks out between Tyler Black and Roderick Strong, the two eventually being pulled apart by other wrestlers in the back. As Black is carried away from Strong, he tells the X Division champion that he is coming for that title, Austin Aries or not, he wants Strong. Elsewhere in the back, we get a much more calm conversation between Desmond Wolfe and Bryan Danielson ahead of Wolfe's match with Abyss in the main event. Wolfe says that he knows that these two guys don't have to be friends and they don't have to be partners ever again if Bryan doesn't want them to be, but he's just asking for one thing tonight. When Wolfe faces Abyss in the main event, he asks that Bryan Danielson doesn't get involved. He understands that Bryan is angry and he wants to get his hands on Abyss. He'd be completely justified in coming out there and attacking Abyss, but Wolfe was screwed over at Destination X2, and whatever Abyss's issue with Bryan is, they can sort that afterwards. Tonight, Wolfe wants his own chance at revenge, and all he's asking, the only thing he'll ever ask from Danielson, is to let him have this match tonight without any outside involvement. While Danielson is initially reluctant due to the anger that he has, he does eventually agree not to get involved in the match. However, regardless of the result, he is coming straight for Abyss as soon as the bell rings to end that match. So Bryan Danielson promising to come out after the main event. Well, before the third match, as Jay Lethal makes his entrance, he is jumped from behind by his upcoming opponent, Kevin Steen. Steen throws Lethal into the guardrail before whipping him into the steel steps at ringside. The commentator is putting over that Steen is clearly still furious about the events of Destination X, and he's not waiting until his match to let that anger out. Steen rolls Jay Lethal into the ring, but is stopped from entering himself by the referee. The referee then checks on Jay Lethal. While he's saying that Lethal shouldn't compete, Jay insists that the bell gets rung. Eventually, Jay is able to convince the referee that he can compete. While certainly far from 100%, he is determined to fight back against Kevin Steen. And while he does fight back and lasts almost 10 minutes, Kevin Steen is able to defeat Jay Lethal in 9 minutes and 52. A huge assist to that pre-match attack, and also to the low blow that he hits before hitting the package pile driver. A big win for Kevin Steen, who is no doubt very disappointed about the events of Destination X. He chose to take that out on Jay Lethal and stands tall to end the first hour of the show. He has not got a smile on his face. He remains in the same furious state that he's been in since that pre-match attack. While he has his arm raised in the ring, the commentators suggest that Steen's pursuit of the X Division Championship is far from over, and tonight shows just how far he is willing to go to pick up victories here in TNA. We come back to a really good segment to open the second hour of the show. Paul Heyman coming down to the ring and introducing the man who earned a TNA contract at Destination X, Austin Aries. He also explains before Aries comes out that this contract also includes a shot at the X Division Championship at Lockdown. Once in the ring, Austin Aries examines the contract while Paul Heyman's putting over everything that's in it, putting over the opportunity that this is for Austin Aries to become a huge star in TNA overnight. Austin Aries continues to look at the contract before throwing it down to the canvas. He then looks Paul Heyman in the eye. His first words spoken, "You can stick your contract up your ass." Paul Heyman can't believe what he's hearing from Austin Aries, but he goes on to call him the biggest bullshitter in the history of the business. But that's not even the worst part. Aries says that he's worked with promoters before who can't tell the truth. The biggest slap in the face to him is the fact that TNA reached out to him for a tryout, for an opportunity, for a chance to earn a contract for a shot at the TNA X Division Championship. He asks if Heyman knows who he is, adding that he should be on his hands and knees begging Aries to join the company, not making him jump through hoops just to earn a shot. Aries says that it isn't just him who Paul Heyman is pissed off, but it is him who has the chance to tell Heyman this to his face. Aries continues to cut what is essentially a worked shoot promo, and there's a reason we've left it unscripted, because we want Aries to just bring up all his grievances. He's a guy who's known to have a lot of complaints, I think is a fair way of putting it. So to have him there in the ring, just cutting into Paul Heyman, calling him a hypocrite, saying that he's disrespecting Austin Aries and everything he's achieved, would make for a really good segment, and I'm delighted that's got an 89, because Austin Aries has certainly made his impact, shockingly rejecting to sign the TNA contract, throwing it down and saying that he does not want to be part of a company where Paul Heyman treats him with such disregard. Obviously a huge shocking moment. The commentators put this over as we then head to the back, but hopefully a segment that will get people talking as Austin Aries storms out and heads up the ramp. Paul Heyman, lost for words for once, cannot believe what he's seen, and Jeremy Borash is also kind of lost for words as he tries to get things back on track with an interview with Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle is taken aback by what he's seen and tells Jeremy Borash that he has never seen anybody shut Paul Heyman up like that. Eventually he does manage to get on track. Kurt talks about coming to TNA Evolve on Saturday night in order to talk about the future of his World Heavyweight Championship reign after his hard-hitting competitive match with Low-Ki this past Sunday. As Kurt puts over his Destination X opponent, Austin Aries storms right across the interview set, showing no respect for the fact that there's an interview going on. He's carrying his luggage behind him and seemingly leaving the Impact Zone for good. He's rejected that TNA contract and he's heading home. A decent segment from Kurt Angle. We then get Mr. Anderson and Matt Morgan defeating another pair of X Division wrestlers. Mr. Anderson pinning Austin Creed with a mic check. Anderson carrying the match, Creed the weak link. So the right choices for the winner and loser. Anderson with an 80 is really good actually. A solid match all round, a 72. Maybe we need to look at changing Anderson's gimmick there as the two men stand tall, once again mocking their opponents as their arms are raised inside the six sides. As they did on Sunday, it appears they're intent on creating some sort of us v them scenario, particularly against the X Division. They've defeated two more members of that group of wrestlers. Before leaving, Anderson gestures for the title around his waist. We don't know what title, perhaps an indication that Kurt Angle and the World Heavyweight Championship are still in his mind, perhaps that he wants to prove his dominance over the X Division by facing Roderick Strong. We then cut away from ringside, James Mitchell and Abyss shown on the screen with the father of the monster speaking ahead of Abyss's match against Desmond Wolfe in the main event, giving little away in regards to the attack on Bryan Danielson. Mitchell just says that unlike dragons, monsters are very much real. Tonight, Desmond Wolfe will learn all about that in the main event, and if Bryan wants to reacquaint himself with the monster Abyss after that, he is more than happy to give him a repeat of what happened on Sunday night at Destination X. Straightforward and to the point, not that good of a segment, but Abyss will be ready, apparently, for Bryan Danielson after he destroys Desmond Wolfe. Already in the ring following her entrance, Madison Rayne stands beside her Amazon as her opponent for the night, Madison Rayne, comes down to the ring. This is Lana Kinnear. We've used her a few times, the local talent, but she is clearly hesitant this time about entering the ring, given that there's a 6'10" monster in there, and Madison Rayne knows this, and she's mocking this. She cuts a promo, telling Lana she has nothing to be worried about, but the expression on the Amazon's face clearly says otherwise. Once she's had her fun, Madison Rayne tells the Amazon to step out of the ring, with Lana now feeling safer to step inside the six sides. Once her opponent has entered the ring, Madison says that she is still looking to return to the top of the mountain in the Knockouts division, and judging from how Lana's behaved tonight, it's going to be even easier than she expected. So essentially, the reason she's brought the Amazon in, it was fairly obvious to start with, but it's even clearer now. The intimidation factor is something that she hopes will propel her to the top of the division, and it's a very, very easy, straightforward victory for Madison Rayne, defeating Lana Kinnear in 50 seconds with a reverse STO. The two don't click. It was always going to be a bad match given that Lana basically has next to no overness, and we do cool the crowd a little before the main event, so not great overall. But the point of the segment remains Madison Rayne and her enforcer standing tall in the ring. Madison, the queen of the mountain, looking to return to Knockouts Championship contention. The commentators put over this change in attitude. She is now supremely confident, and who could blame her given that she now has the Amazon backing her up. Back in the interview area, Mickie James and Tara are stood with Christy Hem and look to clear up what was seen earlier when the beautiful people burst into the locker room with a camera crew. Mickie assures viewers that they were simply caught at a bad time. She says that all teams go through this kind of issue, and Tara agrees. She backs this up, saying that as two top-level competitors, things are bound to get heated. However, Tara wants everybody to know that she is 100% committed to their tag team and to the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. Before they can continue, Sara Del Rey, Alyssa Flash and Mischief confront the champs, with SDR calling Tara a coward. She tells Tara that Mickie feels held back because Mickie believes that she deserves to be Knockouts champion. Alyssa Flash interjects though, saying, "But didn't you already beat her at Genesis?" SDR nods and says that just like you were going to beat the both of them at Lockdown, Flash and Mischief both in that Knockouts Tag Team #1 contendership tournament, and they're hoping that they'll be the team to get a shot and hopefully regain the Knockouts Tag Team Championships at Lockdown. We then go into the main event. It's 12 minutes and 5 seconds. I set this as a wild brawl. It's a decent main event. We've had better, obviously. Thankfully, the fact that we had that Aries Paul Heyman segment, we should still get a show that's maybe 74, 75. Great heat and good wrestling. The finish coming when Desmond Wolfe, who is on the second rope, gets his leg grabbed by James Mitchell. This allows Abyss to recover, and he chokeslams Desmond Wolfe from the ring onto the apron. Wolfe then flops to the outside, and with Abyss remaining in the ring, he wins by countout, and as promised, Bryan Danielson is out immediately following the conclusion of the match, looking to take the fight to the monster. While he can initially gain some momentum by throwing kicks at Abyss, he is eventually overpowered and thrown to the ground by the monster. When he comes back, Danielson is taken down with a huge big boot. Abyss deciding to leave the ring, having taken both Wolfe and Danielson down. Mitchell stands over Wolfe, trash talking him, while Abyss waits at the bottom of the ramp. This actually appears to be a mistake, as Bryan Danielson returns to his feet and takes a dive through the middle rope in order to take Abyss down. However, the monster is prepared for Danielson and catches him, reversing the momentum before dropping him with a black hole slam at the bottom of the steel ramp. Abyss and Mitchell then head to the top of the stage, standing tall as Impact goes off the air. A dominant moment for the monster again as he leaves Wolfe and Danielson down. On Sunday, it appeared he may be doing the bidding of the forefathers Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian and Beer Money, but tonight it actually looks like maybe he's out there on his own, just looking to destroy them for the sake of it. This storyline obviously advancing. The Monsters Are Real storyline, as it's called. James Mitchell underperforming while Abyss looked good. It's not the best way to end the show, but like I said, hopefully that segment, wow, that's a really good show actually. I think we were around 50% in the match angles ratio, so that segment rating gets near enough equal footing as the matches in terms of how the end rating comes out, so that explains why we get a 79. Really happy with that, and really happy with the fact that that Aries segment, like I said, got such a good rating. Nick Jackson getting some praise from, I'm pretty sure, his mentor in game, Sting. Bryan Danielson getting some praise for talking well, so good vibes in the backstage area there as we go into the next episode of TNA Evolve. And that show begins with the match we announced on Impact, AJ Styles, Jerry Lynn and Low Ki defeating Sweet and Sour, represented by the Young Bucks and Yoshihashi. Low Ki pinning Yoshihashi with a Warrior Way, and he gets a great rating for his gimmick. This is the official debut of Low Ki because I brought him in on a one-night deal for the pay-per-view because I forgot to sign him in time. So now we've actually signed him to an official TNA contract. AJ Styles head and shoulders above the rest, but Low Ki doing okay, as did the Young Bucks and Jerry Lynn. We then get a promo post-match. All three men talk to the crowd, AJ Styles, Jerry Lynn and Low Ki, but the final point is that Low Ki confirms that he's re-signed with TNA Wrestling. He is now an official member of this roster. Mike Tenay then analyses the pay-per-view, brings in Samoa Joe to give his perspective as a competitor in that match, and they talk about who is next for Roderick Strong, Tyler Black seemingly making a claim for that title shot. The key thing here is, though, that Austin Aries is not mentioned. He was guaranteed a shot at Lockdown if he signed that TNA contract, but because he didn't, we now need to find a new challenger for Strong. We then get a video package. We shouldn't have had these two on screen, but Danielson was once again left laying by Abyss on Impact. A very quick video package before we go into the second match of the Knockouts Tag Team #1 Contendership Tournament, and it is the beautiful people who defeat Brooke and ODB in a decent match, because I said it to be eye candy, because I knew it'd get a better rating. Love pins Brooke with a makeover. They then stand tall, celebrating the fact that they have advanced to the final four of the tournament. We then get a promo in the back, Hernandez and Homicide promoting their match with the Kings of Wrestling in tonight's main event, and they're cut off by the Hooligans, who are seemingly just hanging out backstage. They ask how they got to face the Kings of Wrestling. They've been trying to get a match with them for weeks, talking to Paul Heyman, and now they suddenly see LAX as a shot. They don't understand it, but LAX, obviously, they're not the ones who made the match. They're just ready to fight the Kings of Wrestling in the main event. We then get Kurt Angle cutting a promo about what is next for him, but he is cut off by Matt Morgan. This is a distraction, as Mr. Anderson then jumps in from behind. While the commentators let us down here, it is still a decent segment. Morgan probably bringing it down too, to be fair. The key takeaway from this segment is the fact that Kurt Angle's dog tags that he's carried around his neck for a very, very long time are stolen by Mr. Anderson, as he and Matt Morgan leave Kurt Angle laying in the ring. And as he leaves, Mr. Anderson asks if he now has Kurt Angle's attention. He's been trying to get it for so long. Maybe this is the thing that changes it. We then come back to the main event, which isn't that good. I was hoping for a lot better from these, I have to admit. LAX, decent performances. Kings of Wrestling, what we expect from them by now, but for some reason just not getting that rating we wanted. Great wrestling and good heat nonetheless. Claudio Castagnoli pinning Homicide with a Swiss death. 71 rating for the final segment. The Kings of Wrestling standing tall. There's no doubt they're the best tag team in the world. A 72, so just within the threshold that we need. A relief, I have to say. I did expect that match to get in the mid-70s. Maybe I'm expecting too much for Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli to be able to carry anybody in that Kurt Angle style, that basically we can put Angle in a match with anybody and it gets a great rating. Possibly too much to put on their shoulders just now, but that is the follow-up week to Destination X, with the major talking point being Austin Aries cutting that promo on Paul Heyman, rejecting a TNA contract and walking out. A lot of really good in-ring action, so overall I am happy with how this week's shows have gone, and we continue the build to Lockdown next week. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you'll be back for that next episode.